Paris. Jackson has finally spoken, and this time, she's not leaving room for doubt. In her own words, she says Michael Jackson is black, and she brought proof. But what does that mean? What is the truth behind the paternity rumors, the DNA leaks, and the years of gossip that tried to erase her father's legacy? In this video, we break down the facts, the family secrets, and the emotional truth Paris has held on to all her life. If you think you know the full story, think again. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change everything. Origins of the paternity rumors. When Michael Jackson's children were introduced to the world, questions began swirling almost immediately. Paris Jackson, with her light skin, bright blue eyes, and blonde hair, looked different from what the public expected. While some celebrated the birth of the King of Pop's daughter, others whispered their doubts. The media latched on to those whispers, turning them into headlines. In the early 2000s, tabloids like the National Enquirer and The Sun ran stories doubting whether Michael was the biological father of his children. Paris, in particular, became the focus. Her appearance, so different from Michael's, was endlessly dissected. Some asked, how could Michael Jackson, a black man, father a child who looked so white? It was a question that ignored both science and privacy. Michael's changing skin color due to vitiligo only added fuel to the fire. Many people misunderstood his condition, assuming he was trying to erase his black identity. That misunderstanding extended to his children, creating more speculation. As Paris grew older, the doubts didn't fade. They only grew louder. Paris Jackson was just a child when she first became aware of the rumors. In interviews, she's spoken about how painful it was to hear people question her connection to her father. "He is my dad," she said firmly in a Rolling Stone interview. "He never wasn't." But the public wasn't ready to let go of the gossip. Just because someone looks different doesn't mean they aren't family. Paris Jackson. But the public didn't have to wait long for a new twist. Just months after Michael's death, someone close to the story spoke up. Someone whose words would carry weight, not because of rumors, but because of biology. Paris's mother, Debbie Rowe, stepped forward and dropped a revelation that turned headlines into emotional aftershocks. Debbie Rowe's revelations. In 2009, just months after Michael Jackson's tragic death, Debbie Rowe, his ex-wife and the mother of his two oldest children, broke her silence. In a candid interview, she revealed, "I was just the vessel. It wasn't Michael's sperm." With that one statement, the world's understanding of Michael's family shifted. Debbie described their arrangement as transactional. According to her, she had agreed to carry Michael's children, but had no role in the conception or their upbringing. "He wanted to be a dad. I wanted to help him," she said. For some, it made her sound distant. For others, it confirmed long-standing suspicions. The public reaction was mixed. Some sympathized with Debbie, seeing her as someone caught in a complex situation. Others criticized her for speaking out so soon after Michael's death. The tabloids, as always, had a field day. They painted the Jackson family as secretive, strange, and full of scandal. Legally, Debbie's statements didn't change much. Custody of the children remained with Michael's mother, Katherine Jackson. But for Paris, it was another emotional blow. To hear your own mother suggest she was more of a surrogate than a parent, that leaves scars. Still, Paris has chosen her own path when it comes to her mother. In interviews, she's acknowledged the pain, but also said, "She did her part, and I respect that. She gave me life. He gave me love." Paris Jackson. Yet the story didn't stop there. In the wake of Debbie's revelations, a new wave of speculation rolled in, this time from men who claimed they might be the real father. As the world grieved Michael Jackson, it now found itself consumed by a new drama, a parade of claimants, each with their own version of the truth. Alleged biological fathers. First, there was Mark Lester, a former child actor and longtime friend of Michael Jackson. In 2009, Lester told the world he may have donated sperm to help Michael have children. "I believe Paris could be mine," he said. He claimed it was done as a favor, but the timing raised eyebrows. Why come forward right after Michael's death? Then came Dr. Arnold Klein, Michael's dermatologist. While he never outright claimed paternity, he made cryptic statements that kept people guessing. Klein often posted photos of himself and Paris side by side, highlighting their similar features. For many, it felt like he was hinting without saying too much. "I can't comment on paternity," he once said, "but I know what I know." The media jumped on these stories. Headlines screamed about secret fathers and DNA tests. TV shows and gossip sites ran side-by-side comparisons of Paris and the alleged donors. For the Jackson family, it was chaos. Their privacy shattered again, their grief exploited. Paris, once again, was caught in the middle. Over the years, she's made it clear where she stands. DNA doesn't make someone a father, love does. Her words were a powerful reminder that biology isn't everything. Michael raised her, loved her, protected her. That's what mattered to her. "He was my world. The rest is just noise." Paris. Jackson, while the tabloids hunted for a biological match, they missed a deeper truth hiding in plain sight. Genetics isn't always black and white. Paris's appearance, like Michael's own transformation, became a symbol of misunderstanding. Now science would have its say. What does heredity really tell us, and what does it leave unsaid? The science behind appearance. For years, the public struggled to understand how Michael Jackson, a black man, could have children who appeared white, but biology doesn't always follow stereotypes. Genetics is complex and unpredictable. Skin tone, hair color, eye color. These are influenced by many genes, some of which can come from distant ancestry and recessive traits that don't always show up visibly in the parents. Michael's vitiligo, a skin condition that causes loss of pigmentation, had drastically changed his appearance. But many didn't know the full story. People assumed he was trying to be white, and that assumption carried over to his children. What they failed to see was that Paris inherited traits not just from Michael, but also from her mother, Debbie Rowe, who is white. Some genetic experts have weighed in over the years, pointing out how inheritance works. Dr. Rick Kittles, a geneticist, once explained, "You can't judge paternity based on looks alone. Genes are complicated. It's entirely possible for two people of different backgrounds to have children who look more like one side than the other." Paris herself has spoken about her appearance and the assumptions people make. "Just because I don't look like most black kids doesn't mean I'm not black," she said. "My dad told me I'm black, and I believe what he told me because he never lied." Her identity is more than skin deep. People need to learn that identity isn't just about what's on the outside. Paris Jackson. As debates over biology and skin tone raged on, Paris found her own voice, not just through interviews, but through her work. When she took on a role in the series Swarm, many viewers noticed the lines between fiction and reality began to blur. What happens when a TV role feels like a mirror to your real life? Embracing her heritage. Paris has never shied away from tough questions about her background. In recent years, she's embraced her identity more openly, calling herself a proud black woman in interviews. That statement shocked some, confused others, but for Paris, it wasn't about pleasing people. It was about honoring her father's teachings. "My dad always told me, 'You're black. Be proud of that.'" Growing up, Paris often felt like she didn't fit in. Her lighter skin and blue eyes led many to doubt her heritage. But within the walls of the Jackson family home, she says she was raised with strong cultural roots. Michael made sure his children understood Black history, the civil rights movement, and their family's legacy. He wanted them to know who they were. Paris has admitted that embracing her identity hasn't been easy. "I've had people tell me I'm not Black enough to claim that part of myself," she once shared. "But I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I know who I am." That confidence didn't come overnight. It was shaped by years of struggle, therapy, and self-discovery. Now, Paris uses her platform to educate others. Whether through social media, interviews, or her art, she talks about race, heritage, and what it means to grow up with a complicated identity. "It's not about looking a certain way," she says. "It's about living your truth. I am my father's daughter. That's not up for debate." Paris. Jackson. And then came Swarm. In this haunting series, Paris played a character whose lines about race and identity cut close to her own life. The internet lit up. Was she sending a message? Art had become more than expression. It was reflection. Suddenly, the world was seeing Paris Jackson in a new light, not just as Michael's daughter, but as her own voice. The Swarm Effect. Art imitating life. In 2023, Paris Jackson appeared in the Amazon Prime series Swarm, a dark satire about obsession, fame, and identity. Her character, a white-passing woman discussing her Black heritage, echoed real-life questions Paris had faced for years. Audiences noticed. So did critics. The performance stirred conversations not just about the show, but about Paris's real-life story. In one striking scene, Paris's character mentions she's Black, prompting another character to react with disbelief. It was uncomfortable, it was powerful, and it was familiar. That moment wasn't just scripted drama. It was a conversation Paris had already lived countless times. Social media exploded. Some praised her bravery. Others accused her of claiming something she's not. Paris didn't shy away from the debate. In interviews, she said she was drawn to the role because it reflected her lived experience. "People judge you before they know you," she said. "I wanted to play a character that challenges that." For many, it was the first time they saw her not just as a celebrity's daughter, but as an actress with something to say. Swarm opened the door to deeper conversations about identity, colorism, and representation in media. For Paris, it was an opportunity to reclaim her narrative in a space where she had so often been misrepresented. The role blurred the line between truth and performance and made one thing very clear: she wasn't hiding anymore. That role wasn't acting, it was personal. Paris Jackson. But just as Paris was beginning to own her story on her own terms, a new storm arrived. Whispers turned into headlines, and suddenly, documents claiming to reveal the truth about her DNA began circulating online. Were they real? Were they faked? And more importantly, why were strangers still trying to define who she was? The leaked DNA files. In the shadows of social media and gossip forums, a new firestorm erupted, this time fueled by alleged DNA documents. They claimed Michael Jackson was not the biological father of Paris. The files surfaced anonymously, shared across Reddit threads, clickbait websites, and message boards, sparking outrage, confusion, and painful déjà vu for the Jackson family. No official lab confirmed the document's authenticity. The formatting was suspicious, and the sources were vague. Still, the public ate it up. Screenshots went viral. Headlines followed. It didn't matter if the results were fake. What mattered was that they fed a narrative the public couldn't seem to let go of. That Michael Jackson's paternity was a mystery waiting to be solved. Paris Jackson responded with exhaustion rather than shock. She had seen these claims before, and by now she was used to them resurfacing. "People want to tear you down," she said in an Instagram story. "They want to erase what my dad gave me, but they can't." Her statement wasn't angry. It was resilient. She had stopped looking for validation from strangers. The controversy raised deeper questions. Should DNA ever be leaked without consent? What rights do children of celebrities have when it comes to privacy? Legal experts warned that even if real, sharing someone's genetic material without permission was a serious violation. But in the court of public opinion, morality rarely outweighs curiosity. There are things the public should never have access to. My DNA is one of them. Paris Jackson. After years of whispers, interviews, claims, and leaks, Paris had enough. The questions were always the same, but her answers had changed. She no longer defended her truth. She simply stated it. And when she finally sat down to speak publicly, it wasn't to silence rumors. It was to reclaim her voice. Setting the record straight. In a powerful interview with Willow Smith's Red Table Talk, Paris Jackson laid it all bare. Calm, collected, and candid, she explained what so many still couldn't understand. Michael Jackson is my dad. Always has been. Whether we share the same blood or not, that man raised me. He was the only parent I ever knew. She didn't dodge the rumors. She dismantled them. When asked about the leaked DNA documents and the media circus that followed, Paris didn't get defensive. "If you love someone because of biology, that's shallow love," she said. "The love I got from him was deeper than genetics." Over the years, she's also taken to social media to clap back at critics. One tweet read, "The bond I had with my father can't be measured in chromosomes. It's measured in bedtime stories, in laughter, in protection." Her words struck a chord with fans, and even some skeptics. Beyond defending her father, Paris used the spotlight to talk about boundaries. She called out the media for treating her family like a soap opera. "There's a difference between curiosity and cruelty," she said. "People forget I was a child when they started tearing me apart. I never got to be just a kid. It wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a reckoning. Biology doesn't raise a child. Love does." Paris Jackson. But while Paris's voice grew stronger, the noise around her never truly stopped. For every supporter who applauded her honesty, there were others who demanded proof. The world remained split, fascinated, obsessed, and divided. Online, the debates raged on, and Paris, caught in the middle, had to learn how to survive a digital battlefield, a divided audience. When Paris spoke out, many applauded her. Fans rallied behind her message, praising her strength, her poise, and her loyalty to Michael Jackson. Social media lit up with support. "We believe you, Paris," one tweet read, echoing the sentiments of thousands. For a moment, it felt like the world was finally ready to hear her truth. But not everyone listened with compassion. Online skeptics, some fueled by racism, others by conspiracy, pushed back. "Show us the DNA," they demanded. "If it's true, why not prove it?" Paris never gave them what they wanted. Her silence on the biological specifics became its own form of protest. She refused to let strangers set the terms of her identity. Meanwhile, the media played both sides. Some publications praised Paris for her bravery. Others reignited the mystery for clicks. Is Paris really Michael's daughter? Was a question that still sold, still attracted eyeballs, still got retweets. The gossip economy didn't care about healing. It cared about headlines. Through it all, Paris found ways to cope. She withdrew from the public eye at times, focused on music, therapy, and spirituality. "You don't owe the world your soul," she once wrote. And yet, every time she stepped forward, it wasn't just to defend herself, it was to connect. Because for her, surviving the noise meant turning pain into purpose. "If you don't know my story, don't tell it for me." Paris Jackson. And in the center of this storm, beneath the headlines, beyond the internet battles, was the man who started it all. Michael Jackson. A father, an icon, and a man forever scrutinized. As Paris continued her journey, so too did his legacy. And now it was time to remember what he left behind, not just as an artist, but as a parent, beyond the music. Long before Paris was thrust into the center of a public debate, Michael Jackson was building a legacy far bigger than chart-topping hits. He wanted to raise children who were kind, aware, and proud of who they were. "The most important thing," he once said, "is that my children know they are loved and know who they are." Michael was deeply aware of how the world saw him, especially as his skin condition, vitiligo, changed his appearance. Yet behind closed doors, he worked hard to instill pride in his kids' Black heritage. He taught them about African American leaders, about history, about empathy. Paris remembers him reading them stories, playing James Brown records, and reminding them, "You come from greatness." He also fought hard to protect his children from the media. Whether covering their faces with masks or keeping them out of the spotlight, Michael knew the world could be cruel. He once said, "I don't want my kids to be famous. I want them to be children." Sadly, that hope was short-lived after his death. But even in absence, his presence lingered. Paris has said that she still hears his voice guiding her decisions. His compassion, his creativity, his sense of justice. They've become part of her DNA, whether inherited through blood or through love. "He made us feel safe. He gave us values," she once said. That's the real inheritance. "He taught me that it's okay to be different." That's what made him magical. Paris Jackson. But while Michael's lessons ran deep, the world outside the gates of Neverland was far less forgiving. The media that once crowned him the king of pop became the same machine that dissected his family piece by piece. And as Paris grew older, she learned exactly what happens when your pain becomes someone else's profit. Sensationalism versus responsibility. The media has long played a double role in the Jackson family saga: storyteller and instigator. Coverage of Michael's personal life was relentless, often cruel. That scrutiny didn't stop with his passing. It only shifted to his children. For Paris, the press wasn't just a nuisance. It was a source of trauma. Paparazzi followed her from a young age. Tabloids ran cruel headlines, questioning her mental health, her relationships, and of course, her paternity. In one viral moment, a gossip site published a list of proofs that Michael couldn't be her father. "It felt like I wasn't allowed to be his daughter," Paris later said. "Like I had to earn it in public." The ethics of this kind of reporting have often been debated. Journalists defended their work as in the public interest. But critics argue that children of celebrities shouldn't be targets. You can't claim to care about mental health and still publish clickbait that breaks people, one fan tweeted during a media controversy about Paris. Paris has since become an advocate for healthier media practices. She's called for empathy, fact-checking, and for respecting boundaries. Just because someone is famous doesn't mean their life is your playground, she said. It's a message that resonates far beyond Hollywood, a reminder that behind every headline is a human being. I grew up in the media's mouth, but I learned how to bite back. Paris Jackson. Despite the weight of public scrutiny and painful revelations, Paris didn't fade away. Instead, she began to bloom. Her story shifted from defense to discovery, and in the face of every rumor, she turned inward, on a journey of identity, healing, and becoming her truest self. Paris's journey to self-discovery. Paris. Jackson's adult years have been about more than defending her past. They've been about shaping her future. Through music, acting, and activism, she's used her voice to build something of her own. "I don't want to be known as just someone's daughter," she said. "I want to be seen for who I am." She's explored genres from folk to alternative rock, released an album called Wilted, and starred in indie films. But beyond performance, her growth has been emotional. Paris has openly discussed her struggles with mental health, self-harm, and identity. She's turned pain into purpose, using platforms to advocate for others who feel like they don't belong. Her journey has also involved spiritual exploration, therapy, and connecting with nature. "Healing isn't a straight line," she said in a podcast interview. "Some days I feel strong, other days I don't, but I keep showing up for myself." That honesty has made her a voice for a generation navigating trauma in the public eye. And most powerfully, she's never abandoned her roots. "I carry my father's spirit with me," she said. "He taught me to stand tall, to love without shame, to never let the world shrink who you are." In a world that tried to define her from birth, Paris is finally defining herself. "I was born into a story I didn't write. Now I'm writing my own." Paris Jackson. After everything, the rumors, the doubts, the truths, and the healing, what remains is not a scandal, but a legacy. Michael Jackson's daughter has grown into her own story, and through it all, she's shown the world that identity isn't given, it's claimed. The final word doesn't belong to gossip. It belongs to Paris. Redefining legacy and identity. Paris. Jackson's story isn't about DNA, it's about love, survival, and self-definition. For years, the world demanded answers about her paternity, her appearance, and her place in the Jackson legacy. But the answers were always there, in her words, her actions, and the bond she still cherishes with the man who raised her. Michael Jackson didn't just leave behind music, he left behind a message. One of unity, compassion, and defying expectations. Through Paris, that message continues. She's not just his daughter by name, she's his daughter by heart, by spirit, and by the strength she shows in the face of relentless pressure. This story isn't just about the Jacksons, it's about all of us, about how we judge identity, how we question truth, and how we often forget the human cost of curiosity. Paris. Jackson reminds us that legacy isn't inherited, it's lived. And identity isn't proven, it's felt. So the next time someone asks, "Is Michael really her father?" remember this. Biology makes a life, but love makes a legacy. He loved me. That's all I need to know. Paris Jackson. So now you've seen it all, from the rumors and interviews to the truth Paris Jackson is finally standing on. Michael Jackson wasn't just a pop icon. He was a father who raised his children with pride, truth, and love. Paris didn't just defend his legacy, she lived it. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you see things differently, hit that like button and subscribe for more real, powerful stories from behind the headlines. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe her truth? We read every single one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.